we're pretty much, there might be a straggler, but I think we're good enough to go.
Okay. All right, good. Okay, the show is yours. The floor is yours. The camera is yours, whatever you want to call it.
Well, great. Everybody's in one place, correct?
Yep. Yes. We're all here.
Very good. Well, welcome everybody. Today is a wrap-up call for you to share any thoughts, for us to address anything, and really just kind of debrief as to how your pilot experience went. Victoria's there. Sue, your pilot manager, is on as well. She's got to take off in just a little bit. So without further ado, let's kind of jump right in and get this going. I want to kind of discuss your survey results. Thank you for those of you that shared some responses. Those of you that did not have a chance, maybe there's things that you want to share on this call, and this is certainly the time and the place to do that. And we encourage you to, just let it out. So, without further ado, let's kind of talk about this. And when we look at the survey results, and I know Eric and Kathy, you all had it, but did the teachers as a whole see the results?
Were you able to see each other's results?
I don't think so.
No. Okay, no, that didn't happen.
Okay, I don't know if it's top secret, highly classified or not, but I will just kind of move over. If I break protocol, just let me know, because there's a couple things I want to address. I got back
okay?
at 1:30 in the morning last night.
It's okay.
Yeah,
I
no, it's
didn't
fine.
have time. Is this okay?
Yes, Heidi.
Yes, you're fine. Nothing is top secret. No decisions have been made, nothing, so yeah, you're all good.
It is anonymous, so there's nothing, yeah, and we're all one here. I want to just kind of share, because I know when I was on the other end and I would share things, I always thought, am I the only one thinking this way, or what's everybody else doing? And sometimes it's hard when you're a teacher to kind of communicate with each other. So I think this is valuable, and the beauty of this is. Oops, I dropped my pen. This was all across the board. When we look at things like student login, resources used, and that's a good thing, I think, because you all kind of made it your own. So I just want to touch on a couple of things before I respond to the couple of questions that were on here. And this was the elementary school and middle school here. So a couple of things that I want to point out. And if you can't read this, I know it might be kind of small on your screen, but you look at things like, okay, we've got grade level, modules, what teacher resources and what resources you use consistently. I think that's kind of pretty static, but I love this column right here. Support your differentiated instruction. Which resources did you use? So it looked like we were doing a great job of utilizing support tools that are in there. And I want to stop for just a minute. I know this is elementary and middle, and there was one response with the high school group, which was good, and you can kind of see that here, Math on the Spot tutorials, read, teach, and check for differentiation. But if we could I want to pause for just a moment, because this column will actually lead into support in another venue. So can you all kind of share with me some of your successes with differentiation? We'll touch on challenges in a minute, but can we start there? Oops. Does anybody have anything to share? Because you can see, let me mute my phone, sorry.
Yes, we have somebody to share.
Yeah, I'll share.
Geometry, right?
Geometry, yeah. So
Perfect.
I think I had them do a couple of times I'm not gonna get the name of this right. Just the Are You Ready and the Check Understanding, and I just appreciated how I could get immediate feedback as to which groups they would fall in. And then my IS and I, we would, adjust how we were gonna go forward with that lesson, with the
That's
reteach
awesome.
and the challenge. So I did appreciate that aspect of the program a lot.
That's exactly what it's there for.
So
That's good.
you really utilize the digital, correct?
Yeah, yes.
And the grouping and to see where the students are right off the bat, getting into the lesson, so that's good.
Beautiful. And that is what it is there for. And I say that, but when you look at this column here, we see some folks, and that is awesome because that worked for you. We see some folks where they didn't really utilize the digital piece, and that's okay too. Because here, for instance, I see this column, and this teacher says students were not given ed access, but look at all the resources that teacher used. So again, making this your own and having the flexibility, I think you all did a great job of that overall.
Yeah.
So great, that's good to hear you utilize the grouping. That's what it is there for, the Are You Ready and the Check Understanding mid-lesson, beautiful. Any other successes with differentiation?
First grade, I used the flip chart quite often, and I liked that there were questions that were differentiated. So I do guided math every day, and so they were appropriate for my groupings. I also used that flip chart with a couple of volunteers that were very qualified. I don't think just any parent would be able to use it, but
Yeah.
a couple of them did, and I could send her out in the hall and say, here are some examples, and that worked really well.
Great.
In fifth grade,
Beautiful.
I used the flip chart also, but I didn't actually use it. My intervention specialist comes in halfway through the lesson, so it was on the table, and whatever group I was sending to her for the morning, it was right there. So that gave her where we were up to that point, so that was helpful.
Perfect. And again, that's a resource that is already done and ready. You've got your intervention piece done, and you can work with those other kids in whatever way you see fit. So, well done. You used it exactly as it was intended.
And
Good
then,
deal. So first,
sorry. And then I also used the challenge piece, as I had students that became very secure in what we were doing. They went off and started challenge groups, and you could join a group as you felt you were secure enough to go there and do that, while I kept other students with me. So I had 3 groups going.
Great.
beautiful. And that worked out well for you, and you had those activities already planned.
Yes.
Good.
And giving the students choice to feel secure enough to go and have confidence to extend at their, however they saw fit. Well done.
That's great.
Any other successes? I see Tier 2 and Tier 3 resources being used. Again, just a bevy of resources for differentiation. Anything else? And again, I point out the fact that, you utilize all these resources, but then we also see a variety of different technology. My students logged into Ed. One said once a week, a couple said daily, a couple said never. Again, you've got the option of print and or digital, still got those resources. So I thought this was interesting that you were all, again, utilizing it at how it fit for you. What about challenges? And when I say challenges, I look here, your overall reaction. We had 4 favorable, of the 7 responses for elementary and middle, 4 favorable and 3 neutral. Let me go to high school. I've got neutral here. So can you kind of share some challenges that you might have had?
just with differentiation or the whole thing?
The whole thing,
Whole thing?
yeah.
The whole thing.
It's okay, be honest.
Alright. I would say the ed platform itself is, and I think I mentioned this last time I was here, it's just very clicky. It's very time consuming just to maneuver around that, you know, once you click out of a tab, then it goes back to another tab. So that's slightly frustrating. I would say, like, once I have an assignment, I can't like rename it. So once it's there, if I made a mistake or want to name it something different, I have to get rid of it and put it back. And then I think too, on the assessment side of things, I didn't feel like there were a ton of questions that I could choose from to put on, like there wasn't a lot of variety, and there was no editability on my end, at least that I could find. Again, maybe I missed that. But then the other thing is, I couldn't export it as a PDF or a Word doc, and we use Schoology, and I don't know that Ed and Schoology, you know, talk to each other a whole lot. So there's that.
And that is a great question, and that is something in Victoria, if there's a way to get a digital specialist to talk to them about that,
Yeah.
that,
Because,
the communication of technology, I know we get the common cartridge where they do talk to each other, but how that works is a digital specialist topic. I would not dive in that water.
I'm not
try
gonna
to
get
get
into
that
that
on.
water either, but if we were lucky enough to partner with you, that would not be the way it is now. It would be much more
Okay.
seamless than it is now.
How about
with
the
the common cartridge.
editability? The editability part, you know, being able to
Yes,
change.
the editability is there. It's just a matter of, you know, that may not have been covered at your initial
Yeah.
implementation, but there is a way, and I will tell you that this is something that is still evolving. At this point, and I don't know if you've been in this Create tab, so there is a way to modify. Let me go into, I don't know, just, I started this, let me go into my assessments. So there's a couple of ways that you have the ability to customize our pre-built assessments, and also under my items, create digital assessment questions on your own. So it is a matter of creating your assessment. So say I was going in here and I'm gonna go into geometry module, I don't know, module 1, whatever. And I'm gonna go ahead and save that and continue. And please stop me if you've already been here. Have you been here yet?
I have not, no.
No,
I think
Okay.
elementary did that.
elementary didn't.
Elementary
Yeah.
did, but
One-
high school did not.
Well, I can
This
I
is-
can mess
this
around
is-
with it. I can see it now.
Right, so this is under create, and let me just kind of show you one quick thing, because when you're able to pull in questions from our pre-built assessments and then modify them as you, now granted this is a 4th grade assessment, so I'm gonna just pull in a question real quick. So I've added it and I'm gonna save it. So I've created this question. And then once I have saved it, I then have the ability to edit or change the wording, take out a correct, you know, if it's a multiple choice, take out a correct response if I need to modify for IEP. At this point, I can also add my own question. So if I choose to add a question, I can, you know, write it myself. I can create this item, and this will give me 4 options to create a digital assessment. Let me go ahead and continue. Come on, it's a little slow. There we go, sorry about that. Create item. Okay, my item type is not showing up, it's still buffering, I'm sorry guys. But this is the route you would take to choose, and then you'll have 4 options, there we go. Multiple choice, choice matrix, match list, or drag and drop. And here's where you will create your own items. So at this point, this is the capability for customizing assessments. I will say this, however. The customization of assessments, particularly at the secondary level with middle and high school, has been a big ask. And there is something, and I know we've talked about this, during one of the other WebExes that we've had, that Ed is ready, but it's not finished. So there are updates happening all the time, and there's a roadmap in place, both a short-term and a long-term roadmap of capabilities and updates to Ed that are going to be happening. Now, one of the questions that one of you asked was what updates will be ready by August 2020. At this point, they are being very tight, they being our digital architects, about what updates, giving deadlines for those updates. I do know that the customization piece for assessments, again, particularly because this is a heavy ask from many of the secondary teachers that we talk to, that is a high priority on the developer's roadmap. So once those updates take place, and again, the more you all ask, the better it is for us, because we then relay that message. We've got a literal chatter feed, and Victoria's on it too, where we will say, hey, this is what pilot teachers are asking for, and we will get a response back that, yes, this is on the roadmap, and it's coming. So at this point, you do have the ability to customize through the Create feed. I will be honest with you, as a veteran math teacher, it is not as seamless as we like it to be, and we know it has to be. But this is, again, something that's coming. And January 23rd, I think, and April 8th, those were the dates that stand out to me, because that's when the customization became available. So it's been just a year since the editable questions on our end was allowed, and then April 8th was the time where you could create your own. So great question, great comment, and we know that's a need, the ability to more seamlessly customize your assessments. I will say this too, the ability to print after you create this, I don't see that being a high priority for our digital team. They have said, and you brought this up about the ability to then print the digital assessment. The digital assessments mirror what's in your print resource. So the digital architects are telling us, if you go to that assessments piece, and you've got that editable piece. Oh, I should have gone to summative first, sorry. Summative. You've got this editable Word doc, so they're utilizing that as, because the format of the digital assessment it would not be in a pretty printable form. So their suggestion is to utilize the editable Word documents if you want to customize a print resource, a print assessment, is to utilize these. That was probably a long answer to your short question.
Did that help? Does that help you?
Did that make sense?
So then there's no ability for is there or is there not, I guess, then to shoot something that I've edited and created, is it possible to push that to a PDF or a Word doc?
Not at this point. At this point, the limits with the Create is to a digital assessment.
Okay. Thank you.
That answer at this point is no, you don't have that ability yet.
Yeah.
Thank you.
In 5th grade, I asked you at our last meeting about, after they take a digital assessment, printing it out so that we can correct, re-instruct, and then send home to parents. Parents, they don't all have access to digital, so that's been a big challenge. So I did print out and do the digital together once, and that was a nightmare. So then last time I gave it print because fractions had to be simplified or it was counted incorrect, but 5th grade standards do not, the state of Ohio says they do not need it. They don't have brackets and braces in their orders of operation for 5th grade. And so if they take the digital, it's not there, but they need the experience with digital for their high stakes tests. So that was pretty challenging for me. As 5th graders, you know, they're pretty good with technology, but.
And that may be where you want to go into the Create and pull that assessment up, because there you can override the correct answers. You can edit, you pull that assessment in to a new assessment, to my assessment, and then edit the way the answer is read. You can do that through this tab right here. It's a little bit of pre-work on your part to get the assessment to be in a format that matches what your standards indicate, but you can do that through the customization piece. That would be a customization of one of our of our assessments. So just a suggestion there. And there is support for how to customize on the help button under that Ed drop-down arrow here. Now, when we talked last time about printing those assessments, when we went here to your assignment tab, let me see. One up here. Oh, let's do this one. This is an Are You Ready? Did you try printing here? Like pulling up a child's assessment?
I don't think it shows the questions or anything. At least when I looked at it
There we
earlier,
go.
that's what you get right there.
Okay, it's coming. I'm seeing my dots, and I apologize why things are
But
going
it
so slowly.
didn't let me print
Okay.
that. Or I couldn't find out how to.
It didn't?
No.
So if you right-clicked on that and hit print, that did not allow you to print?
I didn't try right-clicking on that. I looked through all
Try to,
directions and I went everywhere and went to the help and nowhere answered my questions, so.
oh gosh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you just try a right-click on that, that's been kind of a workaround. Because you're right, there's not a hard, fast, easy way to print. And I do know, because I have submitted this question at least 3 times to our Counterfeit, that this is something that you as teachers want and need. You need to provide the feedback. Yes, it's great to have the digital,
Well, and that was an
but you
issue,
want to be,
even with Go Math, that
Again?
that was an issue even with Go Math. We had to go in and open up each individual test and print them individually.
It took
There
a long
should be
time.
a way that a teacher can click one button.
But it at
And
least
print
let
their
you print
tests.
the assessments.
Yes.
This one, I couldn't even get
Yes.
it to do that.
But you had to do them one at a time.
One at a
with Go
time,
Math, too.
right.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, so this is a workaround for that right now, to where if you've got a student or two, yes, it would be cumbersome to do for every student in the class, and you probably don't need to do that for every student in the class, but certainly for the ones that need it, you want to be able to pull this out, and it does give you, the correct answer and the answer, the incorrect answer, so at least a student can go in there and have some feedback. So you could print that out if you needed to for parent communication.
Well, as fifth graders, they like to see their score and take it home and show their parents,
Yeah.
and they don't want
That's
it
true.
there, they want to take their test home,
Put it on the fridge.
put it on the fridge, yeah. But also, we correct with each student all of their errors, and they need to see, what the correct answer is. Now, what do we do to get that correct answer, that sort of thing. So I like a printed copy when they're finished, but I like them to do the digital in preparation
Sure.
for,
Yeah.
the
The high stakes
stamina,
tests and yeah.
for
just
high
to get
stakes
used to
tests, that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
So when you tried giving the print with the digital, and you said that was a nightmare, can you share what happened?
Some kids just did it on the computer, some did it on the paper, some, it was just, they were all over the place. It was just hard.
Okay,
Well, and some were drag
too
and
much
drop,
for us.
drag and drop, do this, do that, but the print was not that way. So they weren't,
They
Right,
weren't exactly the same.
They
I
were
did
not
that
the
too,
same.
Susan, because
Yeah.
I wanted my first graders to experience the online test,
Right.
but I wanted them to take it on paper first so that I could make sure it wasn't just the online component.
Yeah.
And the questions were a little bit different, not
I mean,
hugely, but
obviously,
there were.
because you can't
Right.
drag and drop,
yes.
exactly.
things like that. So that is a tricky thing
Yeah.
to do them simultaneously.
And I've had a lot of experience, 5 years or 6 years, giving online assessments, and it's always worked pretty well, but this has been much more challenging.
and I think, especially as we get into, the types of questions and that sort of thing, I know with Go Math, with the previous platform, as we look at getting a little more sophisticated with our platform, there may be some kinks in the room before we get it all right. So the feedback that you're giving is valuable, I will tell you that. So I appreciate the honesty here. Anything else as far as challenges go? The naming piece of the assignments, and this is something I always shared at my getting started, was name it in such a way that it makes sense to you, because that naming system, and you mentioned the inability to edit assignments, and this is something that has been suggested as well, to have a way to sort these, create folders within folders so that you are able to organize your assignments in a more seamless chronology, I guess. So that is something that, again, has been put on the roadmap, but as far as when that's going to happen, I don't have a timeline for you.
I hate to take.
Okay, anything else as far as general successes and challenges?
Maybe just a couple questions about a how.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, if a new student is put in your class after an assignment's been given, we added them, but they show up as a separate assignment. Is there a way that they will like that data could be in this, you know, like we'd
That-
see the
that's- I
data
saw
as
that
one
too.
group.
Yeah, it was one student and then the rest of my
The rest
of it.
students as two separate assignments.
Did you?
And that question has come up. I don't believe that that's going to change at this point. Because of the fact that you would have put in a due date prior to that student or assignment date prior to that student being enrolled. And apparently there is a digital issue with that, at least that's the, from what I remember about that question coming up before, that wasn't gonna be able to populate. But I'm going to write that down because that was a while ago that question came up, that I remember seeing it on our feed. So I'm gonna write that down because I don't know what the updated answer to that question is.
And then along that same line, editing assignments or reassigning the same assignment. Like if someone,
Okay, say that again, something with that.
editing due date?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you wanted to, if you had an assignment and you wanted to extend the length of time for it to be
Right.
due, there's no way to go and change that end.
Once
End
you've
date.
already submitted it.
Yeah.
I had the same thing because I had
Well-
9 students absent, so I needed to make it longer.
Right.
And it wouldn't let me extend the due date out longer. I had to redo the whole
Right.
thing.
But then it,
Great question, 'cause let me show you what this looks like on the student end, and I don't know if you've looked at this, but if I go into a student, let me just log in as a student real quickly. From the student dashboard, when he or she opens up the assignment tab, oh my goodness, it's slow today. You're gonna see, like, if a due date has passed, that student can go into overdue and still start that assessment or that assignment. It won't close out to where he or she can't access it. I can go in here, even though it was due on the 19th, I can still go in and start.
will it be marked as late somehow indicated, or does it?
You'll see the date that it was done, but it won't like highlight a red L and say, past due or anything like that. That's not a good assignment because you can, I'm gonna write it down, because that's not an assessment. But you can certainly go through and the student can still do it. It will just be in his overdue file. You don't see that, but they have the ability to sort their assignments. They'll see 3 different options: active, overdue, and done.
Is there a way to hide assignments that are done so there's not?
Great question. That is a great question. I am writing that down now too, because at this point, there is not. That has come up too, because you can see how, when we've got this is happening on the student side right now. More customization will be done on the teacher side. Our developers thought it was more important for the students to be able to fluidly, be able to sort out their assignments. The teacher sorting is coming, and I know that is something that has come up about hiding the assignments and not having them visible yet. But at this point, there's not. But I've got that written down as something I will pass on. Good question.
a question that's come up from some teachers in our building that are doing standards-based. I know you can go in and look at the standards, but how will this tie in?
As far as reporting. and-
Yeah.
Did you hear that? Heidi?
I heard standards, I know you can go in and look at it, let me go in here.
And then
So
along
from
this,
this view, is this,
Mhm.
then along that line, the question was, are the questions in here, are they all on grade level? Is there a way to know if they're above grade level, below grade level? That was the question for standards-based that was asked.
It would depend on the state, because I know some of mine are sixth grade standards that are in my book.
Okay.
And they're written as a fifth grade standard, but we've revised the standards. So,
Well, I noticed, I think there was a tab in here that you could go and change what, I think she's there,
Yeah.
Yeah.
what standards you're looking at.
Yes, yeah.
And it was interesting because you could watch the percentages change based on which set of standards you were doing. And right now, Ohio doesn't have one,
they don't have one.
in
So
there.
some of the ones for mine are actually sixth grade standards.
Yeah.
I know that. The Braxton Braces
Mhm.
is a sixth grade standard, but it's in ours.
Because it's based on the national.
It's based on
Heidi,
the
correct me
national.
if I'm wrong, but I thought Ohio standards were loaded in here.
There's nothing under it, though.
There's a-
I had heard, I mean, the tab is
The tab is
there,
there, but,
the
okay.
tab is
But they're
there.
not in there.
I don't see them
They're
loaded
not
yet.
there.
That is coming.
Yes, I know it's coming, and I know it is coming.
Yes, it is.
They would not have put the tab in there if it
No.
wasn't coming.
And we're one of the
I'm-
first states to be loaded in, so I don't have a date on that, but I can find out.
I'm gonna put that in chat, Victoria, because I'd love to get kind of timeline. I've got that written down too, when our Ohio standards.
Okay.
I think that would be a big priority for our district
Oh,
because
yeah.
they were adopted this year, they're being tested this year, and the series doesn't have it. So
It's a huge priority for all of
Yeah.
Ohio. That's, I'm
it
hearing
would be a
that.
big, big priority.
Mhm. I'm hearing it.
You bet, and I know that was high priority on their list because I remember that coming up in the fall. I remember that coming up in the fall, and I don't remember if it was a call or if I read it in Chatter, but I know that is, your name would not be here if it wasn't high priority.
Right.
Good comment.
So when those are loaded, obviously you will see all of your students on a continuum for each standard. There'll be like little dots and you'll see the percentage.
So I have another question along this line then. When there's an update, wasn't there a place on there that would show us updates on the screen, but I don't remember where
Yes.
that was?
There will be a pretty blue banner down here that says, hey, that's been
That's what I thought there was
updated.
somewhere, but I
And
haven't
if-
seen it.
It's like a highlighted blue banner.
If you- Yeah, there will be a blue banner, until you click it, there'll be a blue banner here. But you can also go in and see a chronology of previous updates. So anything that's been updated will populate here under your
Okay.
So even if you don't see that banner, you can
The
So I
last
haven't seen the banner on mine
Okay.
at all. Okay.
Did you see where
Jenny
Heidi?
showed me.
Okay,
Jenny
and
showed
where
me.
the ed updates are located, right there on the
You
right
have to be
side.
under Discover for it to show up.
Discover, I believe, yeah.
You know, you can go back and take a look at when things happened, where was that?
Is there a search on here, Heidi, as well? I thought there was a search
For updates?
for the updates, to search for a specific term or,
I don't see one.
I don't, if it's on this tab, but I know here, the search here,
right, okay. I thought there was one for the updates.
so I can go here.
They're just in chronological order.
I heard that, but I didn't see the book banner, so I didn't know if that was working.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't won't see it unless it's December, and granted, there's the holidays involved there, so I'm not sure when the next one's coming up. But under that help button, this really is a great resource in easy to follow steps, you know, in terms of customizing assessments and that sort of thing. So anything you might need, this is highlighted in the updates when it came out, and then the customization support populated here. So these are very easy to follow. If you are interested in trying some customized assessments, I think they're very user-friendly in terms of support. But again, you will see a blue banner come up right up here, you can't miss it, and you can also go in and update.
So then I have another question about this, sorry I have so many.
No, that's why we're here.
So when the Ohio standards are loaded in there then, are the lessons going to be updated to match the standards?
You will have a correlation report. I mean, you'll have a correlation and a reverse correlation for those. I'm not sure what you mean by are the lessons going to be redone?
Well, like there are lessons right now that where they have to simplify, is it still going to be like that? Or will the lessons be updated also to match the standards if they're the Ohio ones?
I'm not gonna print different books just for Ohio, I'm assuming.
Oh,
Right now, there are no,
I-
we did have other programs that are Ohio specific,
Right.
but right now, there's just the national. So I'm assuming no, you'll just have the correlations that you
Okay.
can kind of skip through or focus on different areas depending on the Ohio standards. I don't know though. Heidi, do you know anything about that? My guess is no.
now, I'm writing it down. I do not see them unless it is a specific Ohio customization for the entire program, which I don't think that's happening.
No,
The lessons are going to be changed to reflect that.
yeah. It's gonna be
I'm writing it down, though.
A national version.
Is there a correlation with this to performance on like an air test or anything?
With the growth measure, have you guys given the growth measure at all? Yeah. So if you look at that report, there's a tab all the way to the right that gives a prediction of their air assessment.
Yeah. And this is designed to be that predictive measure for state testing. I don't have a lot of data in here, and it will change. Let's go to state.
It's all the way to the right. Do you see
You'll
the state
Here,
This one is, yeah, basic.
Give you
nutrition,
qualifiers.
all that.
Or nothing in it?
Where is that, like, for group? Is there a window though for something like that?
Yes. At our last live webinar, or I was here, but Heidi was on, and I was encouraging you guys, please do it. It's really beneficial. That's why I really wanted you to do that, so that you had that data to kind of see your growth, your students' growth. But if you didn't do it in the fall, then obviously you won't have that tab and all that.
Gotcha, yeah.
Yeah. So some of the elementary teachers did that?
I didn't.
Okay, that's okay. And did you do just the first one, or were you able to do
No,
the
I did,
second
I
one?
did a second one.
Okay, good.
They're in the middle, mine are in the middle doing the next one.
Yeah, it's really pretty cool.
It is, it really is.
And it gives you the same lingo, limited, basic, proficient,
Yeah.
advanced, even at first grade, so.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a very powerful tool.
Fifth grade
Yeah.
is just taking so many assessments, so they take 3 map assessments, they take 3 everything.
Technically, this could replace the math map assessment. I mean, I don't know if that's something that you guys are thinking
I
about,
would-
but this could replace that. There's no need to double assess. It's the same growth measure.
It did look on
It
first
is.
grade, it looked very similar
It
to
is.
that.
And then you have all the resources built in right here for this program. So again, that's a district decision, I'm not
I
trying to
just
say
gave
that.
it this morning, so I can't correlate, but I'm dying to like. Me too. Just lay out my MAP scores and my
Yeah,
growth measure scores and see
Yeah,
how they compare.
you'll see that. And a lot of districts, that's a game
I'm really
changer.
sorry.
Because
You can't wait.
They save
Don't
really
really
good
that data, I really did. You
God.
You correlate.
I need a life.
Map groups that where you have to buy all subjects.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I think Renaissance Star does subject by subject, but I didn't know that NWA Maps does that.
That's what we've been told.
That's what we've been told.
I don't know, Kathy, when Eric would know.
Is it an all or nothing with?
With MAP, is it all or nothing, all subjects, or can you choose subjects?
Like,
Science, social, or science reading and math in 5th grade, do you have to buy, if you have MAP for math, do you have to have it for everything, or?
Buy it
Per subject.
oh, okay.
So again, just something to think about, because you don't want to overassess.
No, that's,
Your
5th grade has more than anybody, so.
Yeah, yeah. They do the same thing. Food for thought. Did elementary want to share anything else about the growth measure? It sounds like that was a nice little piece.
I know I still have a few more students that are finishing it, but I like the information that they're getting. Of course, I mean, they don't understand the numbers, but they're like, I got a 620, whatever that means. It was in the green, so.
Yeah,
What will be interesting actually is what your scores are this spring compared to this, if it, you really do see it.
yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
With our MAP scores, we have students who like to do a lot of individual stuff at home or whatever extra time they have. And we enter those scores in Khan Academy mappers, and it gives them an individualized program.
Path, yeah.
Is there something that could be done if we did not use mappers, but did use this instead of it? Is there something that could be done with their scores to give them an individualized program that they can work on?
I'm not sure. Did you hear that, Heidi?
I did not, I could not hear, I'm so sorry.
So with their MAP scores, they're able to enter those scores into mappers.
Khan Academy mappers?
Khan Academy mappers, and an individualized instructional path is laid out for them. Do we have something where we can enter our scores and have, I guess, an instructional path? I don't think so, but maybe Heidi knows.
Which is great for independent study if the kids are at different levels.
Yeah.
That, honestly, I don't know about that in terms of the growth measure, because this is really a version of the MAP inventory. So we have that partnership with Renaissance, so if you are a Renaissance user, which I know y'all are not, but if, you know, that compatibility is there, where that pathway and those suggested resources will be there. In terms of the mapper, I'm not sure about this. This is something I have not been asked before. So that is something I will also put in there. There is, with Waggle, and I don't know, Victoria, we talked about Waggle with this group here.
Yes. So we do have a digital component that is, kind of sounds like what your students would be doing with this MAPPERS program. Right now it's for students in grades 2 through 8. It's in the works for K through 8. So basically that will put students on an individualized online path to practice, and it would accelerate them to, you know, up to 8th grade. So we do have that. Now that's not part of Into Math, but it does live on the same digital platform as with Ed.
Right.
So it would just be easy.
There is, excuse me, I'm so sorry, Victoria, but there will be an AGA part 2. That is coming. That is in the works as well.
So K through high school is in the works. So that's our kind of individualized practice that sounds like MAPPERS. That's a supplemental program.
Correct.
It's an extra purchase.
I was just saying, does that mean
It-
that?
Yeah, but it's extremely affordable. It's like $10 per student. It's very affordable. And when schools have that math budget, you know, they just put it right in with their new solution. So
I think so.
that's been very popular across Ohio. And because of how affordable it is.
Right, and the beauty of this is the teacher control that pathway. It's not just a linear sequence of activities. You control that. You'll get suggestions. And this is new as of, our partnership started January of 2019. This is coming, the plan itself will be updated for middle school, and then high school will be updated as well. But this gives you a kind of what that question asked there, will there be any other online games or gaming options? This is gonna be that adaptive piece that is, teacher controlled, but student driven. There's going to be activities based on suggested need, predicted scores. This is all adaptive. So this is something that will be imported into the Ed dashboard, so it will actually populate right here on the dashboard, and kids will see their assigned activities. It will be here on the dashboard if they are so inclined to do that.
And I can send Eric and Kathy more resources about the Waggle supplemental piece. But it's a great piece to have.
You know, I'd say one challenge, when you look at the pacing guide, it seems so unrealistic.
Yes.
Like about 10 days for multi-step equations for 8th graders when you're still going back and teaching,
Yeah.
you know.
Especially this year or next year, especially in a pilot or in a first-year implementation. That's definitely the case until everybody kind of gets going, and then you're feeding into the next grade with students who are prepared. You know what I mean?
Right.
But that's something that we hear a lot of as well. Heidi, did you hear that? I don't know if you want to touch on that, the pacing, the planning and
I heard
pacing.
something about pacing.
And that it's not always realistic based on the number of days that they're going to need covering the various components or parts of the lesson. And again, being a pilot year, being a first year implementation next year, that's very normal until the students and the teachers are all used to this new program.
Sure, and I will say, you know, all of the pilots that we support, I know my team as content specialists, that is the #1 challenge that teachers have expressed is, you know, feeling that they're not going to cover everything in time. And it is kind of a learning curve. We do kind of, you know, you're not always going to need all the differentiation time. You're not always going to need lessons that have the, you know, to do every single task that's in there.
I was on a call. Sorry, I was on a call yesterday for reading, but the same question came up, and they're working on a condensed basics, like must get through planning and pacing for reading. So I'm going to ask if that's also something that's in the works for math, because I think it's brilliant and sounds like we need that. Have you heard anything about that, Heidi?
I have not heard about that condensed pacing. I have heard the alternative to the the elementary school tasks, the PowerPoint.
Oh, yes, that's new too.
Which
for you
one
guys.
is that? What is?
Do you want to go ahead and talk about that?
Oh, yes, I'm gonna have to pull up something, so bear with me. I'm going to
And I know
pause my
you
screen
guys
for
brought
just a
something
minute.
up like this in the fall.
Is this like the videos and the animated math models and is this
It's
similar?
What we've done is created PowerPoints for each lesson, so that everything is just kind of, like your daily lesson is just all right there, like in one continuous presentation. Because we've been getting a lot of feedback about that. And I swear I heard that from you guys. Okay. I did, okay.
Mine is.
So those are now uploaded on Ed, those PowerPoints. If they're not uploaded, they're ready and going to be soon.
I haven't seen them.
You haven't seen, you haven't seen them?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But there's a lot here to look at, so I'm not really sure.
See, this is the stuff that's so cool that we really do listen and the updates are really happening. So when we see them, I get happy because I'm like, okay, good, they're listening to our customers and here we're delivering. So I hope, like this made me smile when I saw that they did these PowerPoints. Did you want to touch on those, Heidi? Are they there, available now?
I'm trying to pull them up. Hold
Okay,
on, let's
okay.
see.
Kristen. What? You didn't.
Because all I have is I don't have access to them yet. I just have access to a video clip of what it will look like. So
Yeah.
I'm going to share that with y'all in just a moment, as soon as it opens. So, yeah, this is for K-5 right now. So when you're looking at those tasks, what the elementary school teachers asked for was an alternative to that. Maybe you want to do it whole group, maybe you're working whole group as a class. It says it's opening in 20 seconds, so bear with me. Okay, guys, here we go. Okay, so this is what it will look like. And this is a video clip of what they will look like. So you will have these housed on your Ed dashboard. I'm going to go ahead and start the clip. So you'll have a set of slides that look like this. Okay, you'll be able to edit. Act to, see, it's my dog, sorry. He's old and he's coughing and hacking. Oh my gosh. So this is what it will look like. It will give you an alternative instructional tool. And so that is one of the things that is going to be in the update. I do know that this will be in by Back to School 2020 for K-5.
Yeah.
Thoughts, K-5 teachers, would that be helpful to you to have something like that as an option?
I have a question, is that just what their book looks like? It's just a digital PowerPoint, but it's the problems from the book, or is
It's
it
going to be
totally?
correct. It's going to be what's in the book, kind of like how with GoMath, the interactive student edition was a parallel pathway for instruction. You had another option.
Right.
This is going to be that for your teachers. It's the same content. It may have a little bit, different look in terms of just the usability, since it's a whole group rather than a small group, but it would give you the option of maybe scaffolding a little bit more, or options for editing those tasks in a way that makes sense to you, and personalizing it a little bit.
So is that a good thing, I hope? Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
So that is one of the updates that's coming for K-5.
Oh, that's Alex. Okay.
Okay, all right, those were some great questions. I'm gonna kind of go back here real quick. And were there any other questions as far as just general?
In the last live one, I don't know if, I missed one thing, so I don't know if I was out this one or not, but they had those videos that they could watch. I can't remember what it was.
The math on the spot videos?
Yes. And at the last one, we weren't able to assign that for a kid to watch. Is that still the case?
Correct.
I believe so.
That is still the case right now, but I do know that that is on the roadmap as well. I know we keep saying, yes, it's on the roadmap, but I have been told that that is coming. Those assign buttons will be there. I'm gonna write that down. I've got a list of questions that I'm writing down and to get a timeline. So I'm gonna ask about that as well as the Ohio standards. For an exact timeline on those. Because right now, you're right, they're here under those family resources. You've got those, oh, wait a
There
minute,
it
they
is,
are here.
the sign.
I haven't seen those yet. Wow, how about that?
I
Way to
know that.
go, Ed Develop. They were not here last time I looked, I
No.
promise you.
Me neither.
So yes, you now have the ability to assign, how about that? Great question, I just learned something today. Does that help? That helps me, that's good.
You're welcome.
Have you all been using those pretty regularly?
Probably not.
No.
No?
I couldn't help.
I think it's too, I mean, that would be another thing to kind of add within the lesson, just because, I mean, it's only one question and it's not all the time, and even when it's on the kids' homework,
Correct.
when it's on their homework, it says math on the spot, but, I mean, I don't know how many of them would go
Correct.
watch one video, and then when we weren't able to assign it, it was like, well, they're not gonna probably go try to find it, so.
Right,
But I mean,
Now-
it says on their homework, it says math on the spot.
but then they have to go
But
search
then,
for it.
they would have had to have gone to search for it, so to assign it would be much better, but, I mean, to use it within the lesson, it's like, well then, that's like another component you have to go and kind of find, and which question. It seemed more complicated,
Well,
like,
when you
to not
create
even just
your-
use it for one question.
Your lesson plans, you can just save it on there, so
Right.
you know, this is the video I'm going to use for that lesson. But again, those are the
Correct,
things
and that
that
may be-
just organically take time.
Yeah.
You know, you'll just,
Right.
Yeah, and again, it's there, it is not, and this goes along with the pedagogy of the program. The authorship team truly designed this to be that task-based program. So those video clips are really meant to support that independent practice part, which is why they're there after the conceptual understanding, that bridging, and then moving into that practice. So it is there as an instructional tool, and it is a support resource for kids that need it, but the power and really the design of the program is having kids, working in those student-directed tasks. So, but if you do use them, I think they're fabulous. I mean, I used to use these videos on, not these ones particularly, but older ones that Dr. Berger had done on my class website, and use them I would post them as a resource for reinforcement, and if kids were absent, needed to, just highlight a problem, that this is where it is. Are you using your create button? Are you creating lesson plan folders? Are you doing that? Is that helpful to you all at all?
I'm not,
I-
fifth grade.
Yeah, it's helpful.
Okay.
It's helpful.
Yeah, and this is a way of organizing, and here again, the ability to create subfolders is also something that's coming, because right now, as I do maybe a module 1 folder, it would be great if I could call this module 1 and then populate my lessons, lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3, lesson 4, and have those all populate individually. That's something also, you saw that with the students on the assignments, but that's something that is, again, on the roadmap. And you do have the ability to share, if you wanted to share those plans with your intervention teacher. I know you said that you were using those flip charts and having those ready when the intervention teacher or intervention teacher comes in. You could share the plans with them and then would know exactly what they are doing as well. So just a way to kind of keep those resources handier rather than having to go in and hit a bunch of buttons to find it. You could just go into your lesson plan and open it up or assign from here. I think we had talked about that before. I wasn't sure if you all had used that at all. A good question about the videos, and excited to find out that that assign button's there.
I think just
Okay.
to maybe,
Go ahead.
just to echo, like within the assignments, it would be awesome to be able to organize those, how, the students might be able to organize with, I know you had mentioned folders within folders, but like the students could organize the assignments in a way that's helpful to them, especially at the high school level, because if I looked at it and saw all those things, I'd just get really overwhelmed. So like if I could organize it per module and so forth, I think that would be helpful.
Absolutely, absolutely. And again, this is the student view, and right now, I don't know if your students have looked at this. I know some of you haven't had your students on here yet, but here again are those active assignments right now, overdue and done. And being able to put those in individual folders. You can sort by due date, and depending upon your naming system, how you decide to name them, this is a collective team class that I'm in right now, so we don't have a common naming system. I would not have named it like this, but you do have some flexibility with them, and I do know from the teacher side, you don't have that capability yet, but that is coming, and I will echo that as well, saying the ability to layer assignments and organize those a little bit better would be helpful for you as a teacher. Okay. Good comments. Any other comments? This is good feedback for us, as you all have taken the time to pilot our program.
This waggle you talked about, I see there's a licensing fee, would that be included, is that connected to you?
I'm not sure, I just know it's $10 for you guys, but I don't know if that licensing fee is rolled into that price.
I didn't know if it's rolled into, like, if we got your curriculum, is waggle gonna be part of that?
No, it's a $10 per student fee price. So, and the waggle is actually for ELA and math, and that's totally program agnostic. Any school district using any ELA or math program can use waggle. It doesn't have to be with our solutions. And there's a discount if you do the ELA with the math. So instead of like $20, it's like $17 or something like that. I don't remember. Any other feedback, questions?
I'd like to.
Go ahead, Heidi.
I will forward some waggle information. I think there's an overview video that you can watch, and let me get that together for you so you can kind of take a look at that. See if that's something you're interested in.
I have a question about the Talk Moves. Is that an individual book for teachers, or Is it similar to like number talks?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, because
Yes, 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 yes.
most teachers have not been trained in number talks, which that takes some training to do. It's great, and I use
Right.
it every day, but, you know, that's something else teachers would have to really be up on to be successful with this, because of all the discourse and
Yeah.
discussions and
Absolutely.
explaining.
So we partner
let
with
me
Math
get those.
Solutions, which is founded by Marilyn Burns,
Right.
the guru of math. So all of those, I guess, strategies, best practices are embedded
Mhm.
in the throughout the program for teachers to use. So you don't necessarily have to read the book, understand how to be trained on all of those. Obviously, that's a plus if you are. It's kind of already, all that work is done for you, and here's what you need to ask or say or do with your students from the program. But again, if you want to do like a small, like PD with your team, and let's all read the book, and we
I
do
mean, I'm
offer,
already trained in number talks, but
we do offer our professional development, our Math Solutions, we do offer a lot of courses along those lines, and I can send that information to you as well. Make a little note.
Right, and this is, through our AGA program too, you'll see these, and these are what the cards are, and there's sample dialogue on the back of what this could look like in your classroom, and then you see these modeled through the professional development videos, those module videos in the professional learning library, those module-based videos. I think we've looked at them. Video. You'll see them modeled in the pre-learning videos. Let's see. This is grade 5.
So there's on the spot PD, and then there's also extra PD that you can purchase as a district to work on various workshops.
so can I ask them a question?
Of course. Do you want me to step out?
No.
Okay.
So I'm 5th grade, I'm between elementary and I'm between middle school. I'm trained as a math coach, so a lot of this I'm familiar with, but how does the middle school feel about this with the 5th graders that came with Go Math? How are they performing into math?
I did not utilize a lot of the online pieces.
Okay,
And when I started dipping my toes into the resources provided, I found it pretty difficult for the
I agree.
engagement side. So I often found myself using the resources to like pull good problems from, because there are some really good rigorous problems
the rigor
here.
is great.
So that's kind of my primary use of it. The workbook was a hot mess.
Okay,
And I think just like it was really difficult to get student buy-in the moment you put that in front of them. And then just kind of the layout, I found it a little more challenging if I wasn't directly looking at the teacher manual along with the students. So with the engagement piece, it was really struggling with. Again, I didn't use the online resources with my students. So I think there was great problems. I used a lot of like the small group resources for differentiated instruction. So it's kind of a back and forth. At least
you're
for me,
6th
seventh
grade? 7th grade, okay.
So 7th grade.
What about you, Matt?
It's similar. Like, I use the online stuff because we use so many other online programs that would make the kids head spin at this point.
Exactly.
And so, for our flex periods, we would use it for some of the differentiated worksheet type stuff when they're doing independent practice while we're pulling kids.
Because my kids will be coming to you. And so I found, as a 5th grade teacher, the rigor is great. I think the problems are not that engaging, but we can make them engaging, we can do that. But I don't see a good balance between, working with the computation and the application. How is it in 6th grade, 7th grade?
At least 7th grade, it's either basic computation or really high level problems. There's not much in between, so that's where I did a lot of fill-in.
Echo that. For geometry.
Yeah.
The problems were either
They're pretty rigorous.
basic,
They're
which is
either
where
really
they need to
easy-
start with. You
Yep.
need to start with those ones
There's no
before you get
middle.
to more the application side. But,
There's no-
little mix.
There's not much balance. So like, I know that orders of operation are so important for me to develop in 5th grade because they're so important in 6th and 7th grade, and there was no practice for them. I mean, it was write an expression or whatever, just briefly, and then we never revisited or anything. And so I'm anxious to hear what you think next year when they come from my class. I'm the only 5th grade teacher, but I'm not finding a lot of engagement either.
Yeah, it's a struggle,
It is a struggle.
just in general.
But do you find like there's a million things? I can't go to all these things.
See, we're,
That might be part of the
It's go
engagement
here, go
issue.
around, go,
Yeah.
watch this video, it's more than I'm getting to.
we're using it in Math 8, and we're in a geometry section with transformations, and the online piece is great for us right
We
now.
thought it's been,
Just in preparing them, probably the manipulating, you know, just getting used to some of the things. And I feel like they are,
I feel like they're engaged with it. And the one thing that, I guess that, looking over it of what we've assigned though, I feel like it's taking them too long to get through it. So like, when you said you were assigning something and then using it to pull your groups, I'm thinking, we couldn't do that. Only half of them are getting done.
Oh, it took a lot, I mean,
Yeah.
it took a day and a half to do what would
What it's-
possibly take like a day.
Right.
But, I mean,
I agree.
and again, if they start out using something like this, they're used to it,
Yeah.
and
It's
that's
a
just
one-shot.
something
Yeah.
different in
Yeah.
the middle of the year.
It's a learning curve for you, for the students.
yeah.
Absolutely. But I was curious about the middle school. So you're not using any of the online resources. So that's a big deal with
We
student
have,
engagement.
but
Sorry,
that's
the
okay.
two in the back.
Yeah.
So that's obviously a huge point for student engagement.
I'm using a lot of the online.
Okay.
I've looked, I mean, I've explored a lot of the online pieces that I could assign. So there's like some of the interactive pieces that go along with the problems in the workbook or in the teacher resources. And yes, yes.
So what
I
did you
also
mean when you said the workbook is a hot mess? Could you elaborate on that?
It's very boxy.
What does that mean?
When it goes through kind of a step-by-step procedural, problem, you know, it's engaging this, it's having the students fill in each box step by step. And almost to a point where I was starting my equations and expressions unit, and you're like distributing through various expressions. There were parts where I had to pull out the teacher manual because I wasn't sure what it was looking for.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, okay, that's wanting them to do the commutative property before you combine the terms.
Okay. So it's really trying to build that conceptual background knowledge.
It
I guess.
is. So on their own, definitely wouldn't be able to do it. And even myself, like I said, I had to have the teacher manual in hand to
Yeah.
fill in the blanks.
Okay.
I'm finding that with my intervention specialist. When she comes in, she'll go, I have no clue what they're wanting here. You know, she depends heavily on her teacher manual. I appreciate that you sent her a teacher manual, but yeah, she's found the very same thing. It's really, and so that's a big concern to me that if this is in every teacher's classroom, it's going to be a struggle for a lot of people, especially if they're not strong math people or think they're going to do page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4 and be finished.
That's, yeah, and I don't think that's not enough.
Exactly, it's not
Which I
enough.
guess, you know, where you pull in the online resources.
Right.
There were times in the workbook where I don't think there was enough space allotted to show work. So even when like the students were practicing on their own, they would give them like a single space.
And see, I'm okay with that. My kids just always pull paper with them. That, I don't care about that.
A math notebook or whatever on the side.
I do agree with that, like I mean, if we're gonna work on the pages that were purchased for us, then I think it would be nice if there was some space there. Like, my students have, there's not enough space.
There's not.
Isn't there more space though than Go Math? A lot more?
But the problems that they're given now, I mean, they're intense, and so multiple steps to where they need space. Some of the workbook pages do have a large space like on the first.
The spark your
The
learning.
first page, yes,
Yeah.
the Spark Your Learning, where they can have a
They have
bunch of
the big green
different
box there.
ways that they
But
can
then
do it.
after
But
that,
then
it's
when we
more-
start getting into problem solving, when they have like 3 steps, there isn't enough space for that. So,
We don't find a lot of difference from our old workbooks, and we didn't use those. I mean, they just, not on a regular basis, and so,
You guys
That's-
use Glencoe?
Wig Glencoe,
Okay.
it's probably my least favorite piece of what you've given us,
The work.
the workbooks.
Okay. Interesting. I haven't heard that before from the middle school. That's why I wanted more information.
I wanted to hear what the middle school was thinking, because I'm the top of the elementary, and
Sure.
It's
You
way
feed
different.
them, yeah.
I know Kristen has the concerns with the amount of text in first grade,
Right.
because first
Can't
grade's
read it.
ability to read, you know.
Yeah, the on your own they can't do on their own because they can't read it, and it's all problem solving. There's
Lots
like
of words.
There's a
no
lot of word problems,
arithmetic.
which are good, that's what they
Yeah.
need.
Yeah.
But like, I didn't bring my workbook with me, so this is 6th grade. Even if, so what is this year? Writing equations, that would be very intimidating to any kid.
What page is
Just,
that?
so this is the 6th grade book, I don't know, I just flipped to 276. But it's just that first glance, that would be intimidating. Just, even with kids who can't read.
And I don't do math homework at all, because I don't want parents,
Yeah,
I
struggling.
don't do it.
I agree with you.
And I see this as a bigger struggle than Go Math for parents.
Okay.
They talk about the productive struggle in here. I know about the productive struggle, my students talk about it every day. If we're not struggling, we're not learning, we're just
Right.
practicing what we already know.
Yeah.
Parents are gonna be calling saying, I have not a clue what to do here. If you're a homework person, I'm not, so I'm okay with that.
I felt a disconnect a little bit between what was in the book and then what was on our assessments, because kind of like what you're saying, so it's almost pulling it apart to the point where sometimes I'm like, oh, well, we kind of already did that step, and it's forcing me to kind of slow down a little bit because it's pulling it apart so much, so like one whole page is like one problem because of the way that it's broken apart, and it's, you know, sometimes confusing to them as to, well, we already did that step, oh, but they wanted you to write it out this way, or,
And
So-
a lot of that has to do with those connecting lessons.
right, right,
And how important it is
Right.
to build that bridge between the concept
right.
and the procedure.
So I
that's
just-
a big focus,
So it's for
obviously.
me, like, to slow down too, to say, okay, well, but it was confusing for me as well, like, okay, well, what do they want you to write down here? Okay, you know, we talked about breaking apart the 10s and the 1s, but they want you to actually write down that this is the 10s and this is the
Right.
1s, and now subtract the 10s, and this is now subtract the 1s, and it was just like, oh my gosh. But
Yeah.
it's for me, I mean, it's good for them too, but it is step by step. But then I feel like, so they're breaking it apart like that, and then kind of like what you're saying, it might go to the next page, and then it's like, okay, now do
Now
it.
do it. Now it's the procedure.
Right, but then it's like, you know, same thing, kind of like, okay, well, now you have like this much space. But then on the test, it's almost taking it to the next step, like with you're saying it being so rigorous. Well, I would have liked to have seen some of those, like, actually within our book. So for example, like counting money, when we had coins and then we had coins and dollar bills, it was, you know, in the book, it seemed like it was just adding up the money. You know, here are the coins, here are the bills, how much do they have, this and that. And then in the test, it was like, well, they would show 60 cents and then say, okay, so for them they were confused because they showed 6 dimes, but the question says, this is how much they have, how much more do they need to get to $1? Which it never really did that within like our text. Those weren't really the types of questions. So, and they were things
Those
like, you know, they need $1,
application
they have
questions.
65 cents, and not showing coins. They have $1, they have 65 cents, they need $1, how much more do they need? Which again, like that wasn't really the types of problems that they were doing. It was more count the change or show it in a different way. I mean, that wasn't really what they were doing within our book.
The,
That's
the
just
application questions you feel like are only in the assessments, but not
Yes.
in the
Correct.
data
And I'm doing
lessons.
some of the online, like the interactive things too, which have
Yeah.
that more, like, I really love the assessments. I love that they're manipulating things
Right.
more and dragging things around,
Yeah.
but it's definitely very confusing for them to to do that. So it's a good learning thing for them as they get up with testing, but again, you know, it's different, but I feel like they're asking them to do things on the assessment that they weren't asking them to do
Didn't
within our
quite take
lesson.
them that
Mhm.
far.
Right.
I would agree.
Like, I love that question, that's a great question,
Yeah.
like, you have 60 cents, how much more do you need, but that was never a question
So
that they really
that,
did.
yeah, so I would recommend, obviously, taking that out of the assessment,
Mhm.
putting it into your lesson, or not counting it as extra credit or something like that, because that's showing that they're moving on to the next level.
Well, kind of like what we were saying though, so that was almost, so I only have 8 questions in a test now.
Right.
Yeah,
And there were like 3 or 4 of those. So yes, then once we learned about like creating our own tests, I could do that, but I want them to be able to do that, like,
Right.
I want them to be able to do
Totally.
those things,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, we had some very similar things too, because my test had a question like, which bar model would you use to solve this?
Mhm.
Well, they had created bar models,
Right.
but they had never been given a multiple choice with 3 bar models to say which one could you use. They'd never seen that before. And so,
great question.
exactly, so next
Yeah.
year
You just
I'll know.
want some
throw
exposure,
those at
right.
them.
Yeah, yeah, okay, interesting. Yes, sir?
I think this particular conversation with the, like on that page 277, it can be a little intimidating, and it's a little bit what I think I'm hearing up here. My students, when I've asked them questions comparing their current Glencoe book to this, so that, yes, this is a touch more intimidating, but after they're in it for a while, I think they like it a lot more because they feel it's not wasting their time.
Well, and I would agree with the gifted and the higher students, which you have, but those students that really struggle, it's a real struggle for them. I agree with you, Mark, for the
Yeah,
top students.
There are students, all across the spectrum, but if you get something that's too easy, then the students at the high end of the spectrum, one end of the
Yeah,
spectrum. are
it's
gonna
hard to
it-
find that balance.
I did do another thing. We think we know, based on how our kids performed last year on the Glencoe and then performed when they were in maths, that what they learned worked. So I had them study in this book, but then take the Glencoe tests. So obviously I didn't do the modules in the same order, I had to find which worked. And they then thought that the Glencoe tests were kind of simple and kiddish, because it was all like raw, bare problems rather than thinking.
Mm-hmm.
They don't like raw, bare problems, they want to think. So
Yeah.
that's that input, for good or ill.
I think that's why the beginning of this whole meeting was all about differentiating, using those resources for the students, because the rigor is definitely here. I think that's gonna take a lot of getting used to for teachers, especially in the elementary grades. And it's an important piece, and we wanna know how to help you do that, how to help those students who are struggling. Because our high flyers are gonna take this and run with it. But we have to support our not so high flyers. So there's a lot of resources here. We want to make sure you know where they are and that you know how to use them. Obviously, if you're not looking at the online, and I get it, you guys are piloting this, you're doing a million other things, it's not easy. But I also want you to kind of have an open mind and a fair picture of what resources are available for you, and to make sure that you know that they're at least available, even if you haven't had time to use them, which I get that. Trust me, I was a teacher too. There's not enough time ever in the day or year.
I definitely liked all the interactive assessments and interactive lessons that they can do, because they are more, like the kids, like I was saying, they can drag things around and they're,
Yeah.
I mean, it's set up more like the test that they're gonna be taking, so especially for my second graders, you know, I want them to be doing things like that
They're
and being
being
able to see
exposed at a
questions like
very
that,
young
because,
age, yeah.
I mean, I was using the online test for Go Math, but that was just a very simple, like, multiple choice, so it didn't really mimic the types of assessments that they would be taking in the upper grades. So definitely the assessments and interactive pieces have I feel like have been more beneficial for especially my students. So I really like that piece for sure. And now that I know, I mean, we learned about that the last time we did our elementary meeting, so, you know, now that I've been able to create things and maybe add some different ones in there, and that's
Yeah.
been better.
You kind of teach a little bit,
Mhm.
learn something else, then you're
Yeah.
ready for something more. That's a very normal progression with anything you're doing. So keep that in mind as well, that,
I really like the learning mindset on ours too. I really like
yeah.
the types of questions that they ask. Sometimes they get a little repetitive, but I've tended to do those before my lesson, just because it kind of sets them up. Like a lot of ours are about how do you do things that are hard, or what do you do when you get frustrated, or, how are you, how do you stay on task, or how do you stay focused, things like that. So I've tended to do some of those before my lesson, before I even get started. So, these things like regrouping and that kind of thing, like this is
Not
gonna be
so
hard.
scary, yeah.
This learning mindset is what do you do when things are hard? And so I've been using those before I actually do the lesson. So
Good.
I like that because I feel like for them, it gives them, like,
Confidence.
this is gonna be hard,
Yeah.
and,
You set them up, like,
Yep.
we're going to have a little.
you're gonna be frustrated, and you're not gonna be perfect at it right away, and so,
Talk
I
to
think
them
that helps
about
them.
that productive struggle,
Yeah.
if we're
Exactly.
struggling, we are really learning.
Yeah.
Mine are okay with that, but it took half a year to get them there.
Yeah.
Yep, they told us we were gonna forget to regroup the ones, and look at what but that's all right, now we
And then
know.
you'll see that even more after a couple years pass by, and then they come to 5th grade, they know. You don't have to spend half a year talking about it. You know what I mean? Because it's been instilled over the years, so
Yeah, you probably
it
still will.
is, you will, but not to the degree that you are now. I mean, it's a huge learning curve for you.
Mhm.
Yeah, we're just,
And
we're in a
students.
society where they just want things to come easy to them.
I know, and so do we as teachers.
Yeah.
We want to go,
That's true.
click, I want it all right there, and that's a beautiful thing. But it's not that easy. It's not realistic. It's one step at a time. And I feel you, I really do. You have a million things and you just want something that, you know what you want.
I'm curious, like, if this was a curriculum we decided to go with, is it an all or nothing? You get the online, you get the workbooks, or you get nothing? Or is
No,
that?
there's an all digital option, and then there's a print and digital option. So,
But that would be a district decision.
yes.
Right, I just was curious
Yeah.
if that was an option.
And then there are different resources that you can choose to have a subscription print, like coming every year or not. The manipulatives, honestly, you don't need them. Whatever manipulatives you have right now in your math class are fine, especially the Go Math. I mean, you don't even have to think about buying
We have
those kits.
everything.
But if you need a replenish or whatever, then that's fine, but pretty basic. Your online resources and then your student book is the print resource that would be coming every year. And it doesn't have to be K-12, obviously, you guys know that. It's easier for, everybody to kind of be on the same page and for perhaps, I don't know, but the research says having that continuum is very helpful. Obviously, the language, the structure, but that's a district decision. Anything else? So, Heidi, did you want to add anything else, or are you listening to everything we're saying here?
I am leaning towards my microphone because I'm trying to hear, depending on the inflection of the voice, I heard bits and pieces, so I trust, Victoria, that you were covering everything beautifully. I'm sure you were.
I hope so. Are you officially done piloting, or are you going to continue?
We have a meeting March 4th, so we
Okay.
still have this month yet just to explore. There might be some things out of this meeting that, hey, I didn't know about, let me go back and dabble or take another look at.
Okay.
But March 4th is our next kind of big dialogue kind of a meeting. So, yeah.
All right. We're here, Heidi and I. Continue to reach out to us. I know Heidi has been such a great support. Thank you, Heidi. You've been amazing.
Oh, my pleasure. I have some homework to do on your behalf, and I will do that. And I hope, especially given that you've got a couple more weeks before you all meet, to give me some time to pose those questions and get some feedback from you. And I did hear the part about the fluency, maybe put some things together for you as far as, how do you go for those kids that need the fluency? I love the part of the conversation that, you all were talking about. Some kids need more of that fluency practice than others, and this was purposeful in this program. And I had the pleasure of hearing Steve Leinwald talk at a conference, and he talked about, if they can do it in 4 problems, they don't need 20. So the fluency piece is important, but maybe it's there in a as needed basis. And let me put some things together for you to address that concern, because I know that is I was a math teacher too. There's kids that need more of that fluency. So I've got my homework to do, and I will do it and get back to you.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
And also get some waggle information together for you.
Okay, thanks Heidi.
Thanks, Heidi.
What else?
I think.
Are we good or?
Think we're good for now.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, well, then I will sign off. Victoria, if you need anything, please give me a shout, because I'll be around. Just let me know. I don't want to eavesdrop on your conversation.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Y'all, thanks again. Please, again, as Victoria said, we're not going anywhere. If you have any questions, please reach out. You all were great about that, and I hope to encourage you to do that even through the end of the year. We're not going anywhere. Your success is our success, so we take that seriously.